Hi, good day to you all. Today I want to talk about the fear of rejection or the dynamic of rejection and what happens in us and how it shows up so deeply and often in relationships, particularly. I mean, we human beings are beings who are connected to each other, but we don't always feel that, so we feel separated, but we long for this connection because it's our most natural state to be connected with everyone and not feel separated. So this feeling of separation triggers constantly this fear of rejection or this feeling of being rejected. And when we enter the space and the sacred space and the safe space of our intimate relationship, when we fall in love and what, like I explained in the video of yesterday, when we fall in love and are willing and feeling safe enough to open ourselves, we fear very often and very immediately, like, but what if he or she rejects me? And that fear of rejection is not the explicit one of your being left behind and that person breaks up with you. It goes way more subtle, and comes up in very different ways. So even if it shows up like that person is not answering your call in the right way, or is not giving you enough attention, your partner takes other activities or giving that more priority than you, or your partner is not listening to you in the way you expect him or her to be, it shows up in many, many ways. And it's so healing to feel in this fear of rejection, because it's so apparent in our relationships that we don't want to be separated, we don't want to be left behind, we don't want to risk the idea that we're alone again, that we are separated from everyone, because that's underneath feeling alone. You literally don't feel connection when you feel that pain. That is something we want to avoid. So what do we do when we feel that happening, or we feel that it could be happening even before that? We shut down and we do a step back and we go back into our control mechanism and we take over control. And obviously every person reacts differently, but they're kind of like two distinct different ways of reacting. So either you go into hiding, which is very like a silent reaction, or you just play the victim role in shutting up literally and not saying anything and blaming your partner for doing this wrong thing and rejecting you, or you even argue with blaming that person for not showing up in a way you've needed him or her to show up. Or you go the opposite way, you take control and you kind of like pull up your fences and you take control in a way that in that space you feel safe. So you know that in that space you cannot be harmed. And that's a strategy that both strategies actually have come up and have been patterned in your youth most of the time. But that strategy of control really shows up like pushing the other person aside and pushing that person away and literally saying that you can solve it yourself, or that you can deal with it yourself, and act on taking over control and doing it yourself and leaving that other person. So you're actually, instead of allowing yourself to be rejected and feel that pain, you reject that other person. And that happens also when we are intimate with each other and we suddenly feel during the intimacy, we suddenly feel uncomfortable, and we translate that discomfort in my partner is rejecting me, instead of opening up in that moment and deeply feel in what that discomfort is actually telling you. There's something else probably needed to receive some light of discomfort, of feeling discomfort on your body, of something that happened during the day, or something that's still in your system. It can be many, many different things. But feeling this discomfort and fearing rejection from your partner is, especially when we're intimate with each other and opening up to sex and intimacy, happens a lot. And we know the standard way of the masculine reaction and the feminine reaction. So the masculine and the female. So the female withdraws and shuts down in her body, literally, the feminine one, and when it gets into fear, and the masculine, when it gets into control, dominates the process and stops feeling and sensing into what the partner actually needs and wants in that moment. So wherever the dynamic happens, and I don't want to go into the subject of intimacy now, but just sharing with you that this fear of rejection happens everywhere, and you can work with it a lot in your relationship, to just honoring and acknowledging that this fear is happening, that this feeling is happening, and that you can feel it happening in your system. When it can be so simple, it can be just really just someone not picking up the phone when you need it to share something, or someone sending you a text message which is translated by you in the wrong way or in a certain way, and then you feel that you are rejected and you take it personal. Because a message is just a message. Whatever we do with a message is when we take it personal and we translate it for ourselves in a positive or in a negative way. And when we do it in a negative way, we feel rejected. So try to look at every message you receive or every signal you receive in, like, what does it do to me? Do I feel rejected now? Do I feel left out? Do I take myself out of the relationship in that moment? And that obviously also happens with friends. It also happens in your work environment. There's so many moments where we feel rejected, or where we reject the other person out of control. So we control the environment, and then we reject people and keep them out of our space, so we don't allow them to share their information, share their perspective, and we literally push them back and say, no, I don't want to hear this. This is my truth. And that's the only truth there is right now. I'm not open to other reflections. That's an act of control. Because if we don't do that act of control, we might fear the idea that someone doesn't agree with us. And when someone doesn't agree with us, we actually feel rejected again. And rejection can also be translated as not being seen, not being heard, listened to for what you have to say. I know they're all variations, but I think rejection is a very big theme, because it's so related to our consciousness of today, which is so much showing up in polarization. So we constantly are one against the other. It's like opposites against the other. And I have done already a video on duality and polarity. And now more than ever, you can feel right now in our collective that we're either on this side or on that side, and that's a polarity consciousness. And our natural way is just being a unity consciousness. So we really want to be one with everyone. We want to be, and of course with the people close to you, you can feel it directly. But we don't want to feel separated. Neither do we want to separate another person from our environment. And that shows up obviously in racism and in inequality and in inferior versus superior way of acting in this planet, on this planet, and in this world right now more than ever. And this fear of rejection is if you can see that it happens on both sides. So the one who's controlling is fearing being rejected, and the one who's the victim of that same process fears also being rejected. It helps to just open up this tension within yourself. And it's very deep. We know the fear of rejection when we have to perform something like I'm doing now with my videos. I can feel that lingering sense of fear, like, what if they don't like my videos? What if you don't like my videos? What if no one reacts? What if, am I then rejected for who I am? Am I then rejected for not being good enough? Am I then rejected for not being able to do what I love doing? And should I then act on that? And how does that make me feel? And do I have the courage to make another video? And so there's so many moments in life where we fear this, because every one of us is in some sort of way rejected and felt rejected as a child, even in the most simplest form, that your mother or your father did not have that moment when you wanted to show your new drawing where you were so proud of, and you wanted to have a reaction from your parent, and your mother was busy cooking dinner or whatever, and she did not have the time, and she did not confirm your presence and your existence in that moment, and you felt rejected. And I know as a mother how many times I've done that, unconsciously obviously, and without any ill intent obviously, but it happens, and it's okay. It's part of our process of learning, and it's part of our process of opening up. And that's particularly some of the deepest pains that are happening, and not are happening, that are showing up in our relationships right now. Like I shared yesterday, because our relationships are changing in its meaning, in the sense that we don't look for the partner for outer reasons, but we really look for a partner to feel complete, to feel whole, and to get into unity, to realize this unity consciousness, which is actually happening at its best and at its most purest form when we are intimate with our partners. But again, that's another topic, but that's when it really is happening. That's where we're so drawn, and why the physical interaction is so important in intimate relationships. So we long for this partner, because that's underneath everything that we want to experience and we want to heal within ourselves. And this fear of rejection shows up in fearing commitment, because if I commit myself to this relationship, well, guess what I open up to? I could be rejected one day. That guy or that woman or that man could run away from me, or could, even worse, take another person instead of me. And then I'm rejected. And that's so painful. That idea is painful, even if you cover it up with rationalizing that you find another partner, or that there are hundreds of millions in this world and you just not confide to one partner. That's just rationalizing in that moment. When you are connected to your partner, your intimate partner, your romantic partner, then you do want to feel this commitment. You do want to open up to this commitment, because you want to heal yourself at your deepest level, even if you're not conscious of it. Unconsciously, we all want this. So this fear of being rejected in your relationship is something really to acknowledge and to open up to, and to even express to your partner that you fear it, even, and especially, not even, but especially in little moments when it just happens. When your partner is not listening to you, you can just say like, hey, and just make it light. I'm not feeling seen right now. I feel a little bit rejected. Can you just give me some attention back, because I'm telling my story and I want you to hear it? That's enough. I mean, just take little steps in exploring this, opening up to this fear that has so many different layers. And it shows up because it shows up in so many different ways. And it's the ultimate fear of feeling separated again. And of course the paradox is that we live in a society where we act mostly out of separation. And we act out of control to create a safe bubble, so we don't get harmed and we don't get attacked by possible experience that frightens us. So we create that bubble, and if you're lucky, you can create it with a partner. And then that bubble feels a little bit more safe, because within that bubble you are kind of like acknowledging or agreeing with each other that it's the safe place that you're okay with. And you can hold on to this relationship for 50, 40, 60 years and still not acknowledging the fear of rejection. Even though your partner is not leaving you, you can still feel rejected within the relationship, of not being able to show up fully as yourself, for not being able to be yourself in every detail, in its pure form, for not being able to feel that unity consciousness that you can feel when you are fully in alignment in that moment, in the same moment with your partner, if he's able to do the same thing or she's able to do the same thing. And not many people experience that. And I have had glimpses of it, but not often. So it's still like utopia, perhaps, to even desire to want that to happen. Or is it just already all there, and all that's in the way are our fears? And I believe, obviously, the latter to be true, because I know it's all there. Every time I experience a new thing one time, I know it's there. So it can be there always. So it's not a matter of saying it's nothing for me, that's too far-fetched, that I don't want to deal with. And perhaps you never will experience it. And that in itself is perfect as well. And that's how it's then supposed to happen. But on this journey, you can stay in this fear of not being able to open up to rejection and experience just daily discomfort. Let's just call it discomfort. I mean, having irritations with your partner, having a lack of intimacy because you're not able to open up anymore and it becomes dull or not so exciting anymore. And we all kind of like even agreeing with that, well, if you have a long-lasting relationship, it's kind of normal that you're not so intimate anymore. It's not normal. Why should it be normal? If it wasn't like that in the beginning, why is it then normal after a while? So I'd like you to open up to where you put your shield up. And I'm using as one way of looking at it, this fear of rejection. And there are many ways, and I will touch upon other ways as well. But fear of rejection is one that's high on the list of our fears. So feel into it if you have a partner, and if you don't have an intimate partner right now, feel into how that has shown up in your previous relationships. And if you don't have had those previous relationships, then feel into it how it shows up in your daily life, with your friends, with your work environment, with your family. We feel very rejected in our family situations. So there are many opportunities to work with this. I'm using in this series the relationship because I feel that we can heal so much in this space, because we have the intention to create that safe space, and then we lose track of it and we lose connection with it, and that's just painful and a pity, because it's beautiful if you can open up to it and stay open in it with every discomfort that comes up. So that's my share for today, and I have an intention to keep sharing every day because that feels really good. I did that before in a 99-day program, and someone reminded me of that this morning, and I felt this excitement of doing it every day, and it will be on various topics, not just relationships. So I would say stay connected if you like to hear more.